Hello, everyone. Today I am here with Morgan Howe, former Fresno State Bulldog and former Arizona State softball player. At Fresno State, she hit 371 her freshman year. In her sophomore year, she hit 418, had 64 hits, 33rd in the NCAA. In 2018, as a junior at Arizona State, she hit 361, 8 homers, 69 hits, 43 runs, and 42 RBIs. She was elected All Pac-12 second team. At the start of the season, she also had a 10-game hit streak. And in 2019, for Arizona State, she had a 400 batting average, 12 homers, 61 RBIs, and 66 hits. And now you're in the Athletes Unlimited Pro Softball League. I've read the rules. It seems pretty interesting. We'll talk about that later on. But Morgan, when did you first realize that you wanted to make softball your sport?
Well, I was bad at all the other ones. If I'm being super honest. I think so. My dad is kind of what we bond over, but he introduced me to softball, and I just liked it. I mean, he actually had me playing baseball with the boys first. It was like little league t-ball, and I hated it. I mean, I was a little girly girl. I liked my Bratz dolls. Like, I did not want to have anything to do with the boys, and t-ball wasn't great. But then, my parents this sounds really bad. They let me quit as long as I went and played softball. And then I couldn't quit that season. Like, I had to at least go through the whole season. And I ended up really liking it. But all the other sports I was just horrible at. Like, I think I played soccer in kindergarten. And then according to my dad, I don't really remember this, but the reason why I'm so scarred from it is because I guess it was like a co-ed team. And I was, again, in kindergarten. And I got like slide tackled by some kid. And from then on, I was like, I'm going to sit on the bench and eat all the oranges. And then, let's see, I played basketball once when I was in middle schoolish. And it was for like a rec program. And at the time I had goggles. And so it was really hard because my goggles would fog up inside. And so if I took my goggles off, I couldn't really see, but I couldn't play with my normal glasses because they'd fall off. But regardless of whether I could see or not, I was just awful. And then played volleyball. I enjoyed volleyball, but like nobody explained anything to me. So there's like different rotations in volleyball, and I didn't understand why I had to start over here just to run all the way over there. It didn't make any sense to me. And so when I'd ask questions, my coach would get mad at me, like I was supposed to already know, and I was brand new to it. I really liked the pace of volleyball, but I did not understand it, and no one would answer me what's going on or like why it is the way that it is. And so I was just like, I can't do this. And that was probably, I think, 8th grade. And then after that, it was like, all right, we're just going to stick with softball.
Well, you dominated in high school. What was it like to, dominate at a high school level and then like truly finally enjoy playing softball?
I mean, softball was just always fun. I knew that I got on base a lot, and I knew that I was pretty decent in the outfield. But in terms of numbers, Dad never let me look at stats. So for a really long time, I didn't know what any of those stats meant. I just knew how I did that day. And to me, I'm not gonna say all I really cared about, but I knew that in order for the team to win, like I had to be, getting hits or getting on base or, doing something. And so if I wasn't on base that day, it wasn't a good day. That's kind of like how I saw things. But yeah, I wasn't allowed to look at numbers. I didn't really even understand numbers until probably my sophomore-ish year, maybe freshman year of college. Because Coach Ford would start throwing numbers at me, and I didn't know what she was talking about. Like, she was trying to tell me, like, look, like, your numbers tell you you're a good hitter. It probably doesn't feel that way. It probably doesn't feel like you know how to hit, but your numbers say different. And I'm like, Coach Ford, I don't know what that means. I don't know what a 3 whatever average is. Like, I don't know what all the RBIs mean and why that's so significant. Or
as long as you went out there,
embarrassing, but I didn't know anything.
And then you went to Fresno State out of high school. Did you have any other offers on the table, or it was just like Fresno State, yes, kind of thing? Or
So it's funny because I didn't watch softball growing up as a kid. I didn't pay attention to the conferences and who were the power schools and who were the good teams and all that stuff. All I knew at some point in middle school was I could go to college and play softball. Did I actually care about the school part of college? Not at all. I just wanted to keep playing softball. So I didn't get looked at until like my junior year of high school, and it just so happened to be Fresno State that was there like frequently. And so, I mean, again, all I cared about was going to college to play softball. That was the only thing on my mind. So I didn't really take the time to go get to know other schools. Or I sent out emails, but I mean, I didn't really like follow up with them, if that makes sense. It sounds really bad, yeah. But I just didn't know. I didn't know. I just knew I wanted to play. But I also wasn't a part of like the really big travel ball teams that win the national championships every year, win every tournament. Like I was on like a little scrappy team that maybe wins a couple tournaments here and there and, you know, qualifies for the big one, but I just didn't know. I was very naive. So Fresno State was kind of not my only interested school, but the only one that I kind of pursued or like went on a visit to and really engaged with, if that makes sense. And I fell in love instantly. I mean, the town itself is super small and it's a super college town. Everyone in the area loves Fresno State. The stadium, the football stadium, made me feel like this is like Division I football. You know what I mean? Like you go to, it was all the tailgates and like just the really like family environment. And then the softball stadium was unreal. And then to put the cherry on top, Coach Ford was just so easy to mesh with. Coach Ford felt like a mom right off the bat. So yeah, that's kind of how I fell into Fresno State.
And did you left Fresno State, you followed your coach to Arizona, right?
Yeah, so she left right after my freshman year. I spent 1 year without her and then ended up transferring. And that was the other thing. This is how much I did not pay attention. I didn't know you could transfer. Like I had seen it, but I didn't think it was as common as it was. Because when everything happened and she left, I actually tried to leave that summer after I was like finding out like, oh, I could leave. But we didn't have a coach until late August, I think early August. Like school was about to start and we still didn't have a staff. Yeah. And they kind of told me like, you know, we're not really, we're denying all requests to transfer right now because we need to protect the program. Like we need to make sure that there's still a softball team here when the staff is hired. And they were just like really encouraging me to like give this staff a chance, which I obviously ended up doing. But the other thing is I had no idea I could leave halfway through the year if I wanted. Not that I would, like I wouldn't just up and leave my teammates like that, but I had no idea. But that's just how naive and clueless I was, like, and how much I didn't pay attention. And all I wanted to do was play softball. So, but yeah, I left after my sophomore year, 1 year without her.
Do you have any favorite memory that sticks out to you at Fresno State before we move on to
well, I think winning the Mountain West my freshman year was really fun. And I think the reason why that one sticks with me so much is just because of the team itself at that during that year. We were such a tight-knit group. I've never been a part of such a closer team. And that's why it was also really hard to leave because like I've met some of my best friends on that team. Like I'm going to die with them right next to me, you know? But I would say winning the Mountain West. And I think that also was such a big, like, I don't want to say life lesson, but like character lesson for me. Because my freshman year, I didn't start every game. I think I appeared in a lot of games, but like coming out of high school and coming out of travel ball, I was not used to not starting. I was not used to not playing every inning, every out. And so I really had to embrace the role that I was given my freshman year. And I felt like I did, and I did it, you know, intensely and purposefully. And that's what made that probably so much more rewarding because it really did take the whole team. Like it was something I wasn't used to. You know, I was used to being that person, but it took everyone, and it was other people that were, I don't want to say shining, but so I would say that was probably my most favorite memory from Fresno State.
And then you moved on to Arizona State University. What was it like to play in that powerhouse conference with teams like Oregon, like who's getting all that news publicity, at least from what I see, because I don't really follow softball or college baseball as much as I used to, but
Yeah.
it's just always on like Instagram or like it's all over Twitter kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was a culture shock to me, and it was definitely kind of humbling because I feel like you're like there's eyes on you all the time. There's a lot of different perks, like even just as far as gear and facilities. I mean, at Fresno State, I mean, you get your workout stuff, you get shorts, you get shirts, you get shoes to run in, and then you also get your cleats and your uniform, like everything's separated. With at ASU, there was something for everything. There was a workout shirt, a practice shirt, shorts for this, shorts for that, like just multiple different combinations of uniforms, different visors, different cleats for different uniforms. Like it was just the gear itself, unreal. The little things, unreal. The facilities, like I said, like even just our study hall, like for athletes was, again, so everything was just a culture shock. I was like, oh my gosh, like the best softball in the world and all these cool things, like
best of both.
I didn't know, I had no idea. So that in itself was really fun to experience. And then on top of it, like I said earlier, like the best softball. I mean, I've always wanted to compete with the best of the best alongside and against. And when I first walked in there and we had our first like team practice, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so fast, like this is so much faster. Like college softball was already so fast. And then you get up to, the Pac-12 and it's like,
it's top-notch softball.
Yeah, and it was great and it was exciting and it was really fun. Like this is what I wanted. And it was just it was one of those things where it was like, I mean, wow, had I known back in high school that this is what I wanted, this embodies like everything that I wanted, I think things would have been a little bit different. But I don't know. I also love the path that I took, if that.
And then, so now you are in the Athlete Unlimited, or is it Athletes Unlimited?
Athletes Unlimited.
Athletes Unlimited. I see that there's like a rule and scoring system for it. Is this, do you like these rules or? So
I do. I mean, it's hard.
Or are you allowed to say what you're about to say? Like under?
No, I can't. I'm more than like allowed to say. I do like the scoring system. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was really different. I mean, you have your traditional 3-game series, in college. With the MPF, you have your traditional just games against the same teams. So what I liked about this experience was I, for one, got to play with a lot of different people that I've never played with before and against, whether that's because of schools, conferences, age. Like it allowed you the opportunity to play with a different combination of people. So that in itself, I thought was really awesome. I think the reason why the scoring system is the way that it is because it wants to highlight. So essentially they pull in the best of the best, the 56, 57 top athletes in the nation. And then from there, through gameplay, we figure out who's the best of the best, if that makes sense. So I think the scoring system is cool in that regard because you really do get to see like who shines amongst those who shine, and it's also an even faster pace of softball. It just gets better. So for that, I think it's amazing. For the fans, I think it's cool for them to be able to see like their favorite players from maybe different teams and from different years, playing on the same team or playing against each other, being able to see how they match up against each other. I know that Athletes Unlimited wanted to make sure that there was still like a team aspect, and that's why the team points weigh so much more heavy than the individual points. But the individual points are so that you can figure out who like shines amongst, again, those two already shine.
Like,
Yeah. So I do like it. I think it kind of does suck sometimes because, I mean, if you make an error that should be negative points, or if you have like some type of assist or something, like you should be offered some type of points.
Like a put out Do you get
Right, like,
point per put out or no?
so no. So like defensively, the only points that are given out are for pitchers, and they get 4 points every out recorded while they're in the game, if that makes sense. And for most of the pitchers, it actually evens out because they don't hit. But then you have two-way players like Alicia Ocasio and Sam Shao, who rack up all these points because when they're pitching and they're also producing offensively, their points just skyrocket. So it's, I'm not gonna, I think it's a great system. It sucks because the reason why you can't have extra points for like RBIs or extra points for putouts or negative points for errors is because you can't, not every person is given an equal opportunity in every situation to be able to gain those points, if that makes sense. Like me in right field isn't going to have the amount of chances that a shortstop is going to have in a game to be able to commit an error or make a play or anything like that. So it makes sense. It just kind of, if there was a way to be able to put points on those, I think that would be even more fun, or it would, I don't know, it would create a little bit more chaos. I like chaos, but I mean, now that I understand kind of some of the numbers, like through my college career, like I put up a lot of RBIs. I had a lot of RBIs. So kind of sucks for me, someone that produces in that section and I don't get points for it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense. But I mean, it's fun either way. It's definitely an interesting, different way to play the game because you strategize differently too. So because there's points on the line every single inning. Team points. So like if your team wins an inning, that's 10 points. Let's say like this inning goes scoreless, those points carry over. So then the next inning is worth 20 points. And then for every inning that your team wins, collectively everyone gets 10 points. And then if you win the game, you get 50. So like let's say you win every inning and the game, that's essentially 120 points.
I think so.
So it's really team based. So but like I said, it's a different strategy. So I mean, you're not playing for the whole game. You're playing inning to inning. So early in the game, you might see a lot more small ball in a traditional setting, and then late in the game, you might not see it. Or when you're for one run, you might see a sacrifice bunt or something to produce just one run. Whereas here, you play inning to inning. So like you might see small ball across the whole board. You might never see it at all. But however you have to win each inning is what's different than the traditional setting where it's like you have the whole game to figure out how you're going to put up 2, 3, however many runs to beat the other team, if that makes sense.
When were you like asked to join? Were you invited or?
So I actually reached out. When the MPF season got canceled, I was actually pretty upset because that was going to be my first like professional softball ever.
That you got asked to be a part of, or like were you drafted?
So there is a draft. I did not get drafted. Coming out of college, I spent that summer and that fall not playing, and then I did work out with Team Canada for a little bit, but citizenship isn't going to go through, so I had to like stop training with them. But the start of spring last year, there was a tryout for a team out in California for the MPF. They were going to be a new team that the MPF was adding, and I went and tried out, and then I made it. So I tried out for that team. And then we were supposed to have our season that summer. It got canceled because of COVID. And then Athletes Unlimited was still happening. And I had been seeing posts about it. I had been seeing like social media about it. And I kind of, honestly, I was like, oh, like I kind of want to see how this works out. But not that I was invited by any means. I was just like, I didn't know who to reach out to at the time. And then Victoria Hayward, so she plays with Team Canada. I saw that she was one of the PEC members. So I decided to reach out to her. Also because my old teammate Kamalani Dung, who I played with at Fresno State, she also made commotion with me for the MPF. So both of our seasons got canceled. And she texted me, hey, like, I don't know if you're interested in this Athletes Unlimited thing, but I just reached out and they told me they had a spot for me. So I'm playing, like, you probably should do the same. So I reached out to Victoria. She told me they had a spot, and literally within days I was on the Zoom call to get the rundown of how this was going to work. And then my contract was sent over to me. So I reached out, they didn't reach out to me. But then for season 2, you do have to be invited. So I got invited. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Would you, if it like, is the other league happening? Is it like a toss up between the two? Because did some of the players from the other league come over to the Athletes Unlimited, or? Yeah,
so the 2 leagues actually work really, really well together. A lot of players that are in this Athletes Unlimited league played in the MPF as well. I think the reason why the MPF isn't happening is because they don't have a means to confine everyone into a bubble the way the AU does. And it's, so like I said, they work really well together. The Chicago Bandits, they're in the MPF. It's their facilities that we've been using for Athletes Unlimited. So that's where we were in Chicago. We were in the Chicago Bandits stadium, and then they have like a bubble right next to it that we work out in and practice in. And then like their apartments, we were staying in their apartments. So they work really well together. Like I said, I think it's really because like the MPF doesn't have a way to confine everyone in a bubble and be able to just play with just those teams. I think that in regard to this season being canceled for this summer, that has a lot to do with the fact that there's a lot of national teams that also have their own teams in the MPF, and they'll come over and they'll play through the summer to train and see competition. So when a handful of those teams are MPF teams and they're all going to be out in Tokyo for the Olympics, there's not really going to be much to do. So I think that, and then also because of COVID still, is why the MPF canceled this same summer, or this next summer. But Athletes Unlimited is still going to happen, and they don't play at the same time, from my understanding. I think the MPF is more in the summer, and then the AU is like right after in the fall.
Awesome. And I see now you are grad managering at University of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Do you enjoy that so far?
I do. It's very different. It's a different side of college softball. It makes you really appreciate all the things that like the GAs did for you when you were playing in your program. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot of hours, and it's a lot of running around with your head cut off. But it is really cool to see a different program and how their process is done, and like what they do and how they get their athletes ready and their program ready. So definitely, I definitely came here to learn, and that's exactly what I'm doing. But it's cool. And another power conference, the SCC. So I'm getting to see that side of softball too. It's not the Pac-12, and it's also right up there. So it's cool. I'm having a good time. Having a good time.
I got one last question for you before we wrap this up.
Okay.
Any advice for anyone, chasing their dreams and they want to be like, a Division I college softball player or a pro softball player like yourself? Do you have any advice?
Well, I would say, work hard. Don't let anyone outwork you, but make sure that everything that you're doing is very intentional and very purposeful. You can put in a bunch of time, but unless it's quality time, it really doesn't matter. And then I also would say, just like, don't give up. It's hard. Like, this game's hard. You're supposed to fail way more times than you succeed in this game. But the game knows, and the game will give back to you. You just have to trust that process and love the hard stuff. So that would be my advice to anyone wanting to play at further levels. And then on top of that, I mean, I just hope that the work that us athletes are doing currently only continue to grow this professional setting, because I would love for younger generations to be able to really look forward to professional softball being something that they can, put down on a like career field. I'm
Yeah.
a professional softball player, and that's it, and that's how I make my living. I would love for that opportunity for them to be there for them. So, yeah, that would be my advice, and then kind of my hopes.
Well, Morgan, thank you very much for joining us today. We're more than blessed to have your support here at the Keep Smiling Foundation, and we look forward to our partnership going on through the years of our foundation and you being you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me here and reaching out to me. I'm really excited.
Have a good day.
You as well.